Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the CAF News episode. Last Thursday, we had the Chief Architect Forum quarterly event, buzzing with ideas, some existential questions about AI and the future of architecture. We kicked off with some community news and working group updates, a lot of activity there. And then we dove into three nice sessions. My good friend Brice here, who's with us, unpacked the transformation trap, about AI and digital reboots, how they succeed, how they fail without real architecture. Member Anil Pantanji showed us how agentic AI is reshaping telecom. A lot of really good, practical, hands-on examples there. And then Charlie Betts from Forrester took us home with a deep dive on AI, graph, ontologies, and IT management. A really interesting look at how we are evolving well beyond just RAG implementations to things that are really built on and grounded in data. So yeah, big thanks to everyone who enjoyed and joined live. I believe it was our most attended and most globally attended event yet. Brice, how was it from you, from the speaker's chair?
I loved it. One of the things that really struck me as we went into the event is that there's three speakers that came on board. We didn't talk ahead of time. There was no collaboration. We had three presentations, and yet they fit so well together. So we started with this idea of digital momentum, talking how we need to rethink architecture. We had agentic stuff with, coming up second, which was really great. And then finally, we had Charles, really with the Forrester perspective of where we're going, and it all fit.
Your event organizers, of course, have seen that everything just flowed seamlessly with a red thread between. I mean,
Well, it turned out well. It really did. And I think it's really a tribute to this idea that there's a common thread. I think it's even beyond the organizers. I think the industry is going in a common direction, and we captured the pulse of it.
Yeah,
I think that's really important.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll continue riding that wave today. I think we are going to be talking a little bit about where I is literally heading next, AI outgrowing the grid and space computing. And then we're going to also be talking a little bit more about what that means for architecture and how architecture has to evolve to keep up.
So there's two stories we'll be looking at today. One is the Star Cloud, and which is the first one, which is really kind of interesting. They're moving some NVIDIA, terrestrial NVIDIA GPUs. So these aren't hardened for outer space, but they're going to be put in orbit on what they think is going to be a cost-effective data center. And our second story flows actually really nicely from our CAF quarterly event. We're going to be talking about the role of TOGAF going forward with AI, and what role does it really have, right? We're seeing some big changes, and I think this is really part to having to rethink architecture. But first, the Star Cloud. This is really exciting. I think they're sending up a huge number of, I'm just trying to get here, of NVIDIA H100 GPUs. I don't have the exact number that they're sending up.
No, I don't either. I get each one of these satellites is like a refrigerator.
Yeah, and they're supposed to connect together. The value proposition is that the cooling will be a lot cheaper. So this is the hope.
Pre-radiative cooling. Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant, of course.
It's brilliant.
Data center, put it up in space.
But having said that, I'm sort of going to wait till we see how it works out. I think there's a lot of gotchas that they're going to have to work through. The first one, when you start packing these things together in a data center, is the radiative cooling going to be enough? Or are you going to get cross heating between the components? That's one thing I want to sort of see. In other words,
it's almost absolute zero, isn't it?
It is, but then you get local changes in the space. So if you have an NVIDIA GPU in the middle of that data center, how are you ensuring the cooling? So they've still got to be doing something to shuffle the cooling around inside those little warehouses to get it to the outside to radiate, right? Like that's.
So they might be letting the refrigerator door stay open for a little bit?
They might. I've actually heard of some data centers having to do that on Earth periodically, but this would be a planned refrigerator door opening all the time. And of
Yeah.
course, there's other big issues here that we need to look at. If you're in space, how does that affect data sovereignty? How does that affect your architecture? And how do you deal with latency? So there it is with issue, right? I expect this is going to be for heavy duty learning mode kind of stuff, not inference mode. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's going to really help in the learning mode, bring the energy cost down. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Well, I mean, just principally, I love the idea. Problems in a data center are power and cooling. Well, gee, throw that in outer space, you have sunlight beaming down on your solar arrays 24/7.
Oh, with the
And you
solar
have
power.
free
Yes.
radiative cooling.
Yes.
I mean, and you don't have to deal with local zoning boards and, jurisdictions. So, I mean, I like the idea. There's a demo flight. I don't know what it's going to consist of, but I assume they're going to try and like get one of the, refrigerator sized things up in space or something. But it's here in November already.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's super interesting moving compute to that location. I mean, it's not the first time we've talked about this on Chief Architect Forum News, but I think the last time we did, which was maybe back in spring, we were like sort of laughing about it, like really data centers in space.
Yes.
But I
It's
mean,
here.
it kind of makes a lot
It's
of
happening,
sense.
right?
As you mentioned, of course, there are going to be some, some little problems, things to address at first. There's maybe local cooling, heating aspects. Reliability it is going to be rocket science here. And I even saw somebody talking about how that possible data loss or corruption because of what would the particles be
Like
like
gamma rays
energy,
or
like,
something out there,
yeah,
like
in outer space.
cosmic rays.
Sure, yes, cosmic rays,
Yes.
hitting
Yes.
possibly. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be packing those refrigerators in, but so yeah, not without its challenges. But yeah, I mean, is all AI growth going to be power bounded? Maybe not. Power is abundant.
Mm.
But yeah, we'll have to see as it grows out of its earthbound grid how it works. Super interesting. And this is a startup. This is a YC startup. Crazy.
Yes. A startup. That's interesting. And I think, like you say, there's going to be challenges in there, but this leads nicely into our second story. I mean, it's new things that we're going to have to consider as architects about building these systems as we go forward. And one of the things that came up recently, there was a paper published by, I think, Melbourne University, which talked to, is TOGAF? How is it relevant in the age of AI? And what they're really pointing out is that the need for, modeling is going to be displaced by the need for something more real time, like almost simulation and governance. And so they're almost starting to talk to, well, there were 5 points in the article that, just to briefly cover it. Enterprise architecture is a digital twin. So when we look at something like TOGAF, we maybe want to get real time kind of governance of what's happening, tie that into governance of AI agents so that we're seeing what they're up to. And again, much more real time than we've ever seen. Linking enterprise architecture to operations, I think, is going to be another frontier as things are going to change. Like we're talking, systems that can potentially reorganize on the fly. And also, I think we're going to be talking to the need to have architects that understand this environment more as we go forward. So I think, ironically, it's going to create a demand for architects that can understand some of these new technologies, how they apply, how architecture principles apply. At the same time, it's going to be happening pretty quick. So try to find these people. They're going to be pretty hard to find.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree that in general, all of these different developments only make architecture more important and maybe more architects, which is more than welcome. But also, yeah, I've been reading and seeing this on different forums and chats. I mean, people love to, if you want to get a LinkedIn post that, gets a lot of reactions, just title it TOGAF is dead, and you'll get people from both sides out with their torches and, um, but it is a great question as to whether a framework of any kind, which is based on a more static view of now and a well-known idea of the future, and then a carefully drawn path between those two snapshots in time. I'm not certain that roadmap kind of Google Maps for technology approach is even applicable any longer. I a few posts I've written more in the direction of that we are the navigators, navigating the high seas, steering the ship through the complexity. That's sort of an analogy, and is resonating with people. And I think it needs to be more than an analogy. It needs to be the approach, because you can't know 6, 9, 12 months ahead.
It's changing very quickly. And interestingly, to tie that back into the CAF event, this is one of the things that we started to talk about, is this idea of having an architecture that it's not built on a static and strategic point. It's based on something that's moving, a North Star. And everybody really talked about that. I talked about it in my talk on digital momentum. It's a big part of what I'm doing. But more importantly, we had a lot of the people that were at the event say, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing something like this, because we realize that business is changing quickly. We realize that technology is changing quickly, and we need to deal with this. And it's not like you're saying, it's not a static point. I think we still need to apply. I think the architecture principles that we have apply, but we need to, as architects, I think we're going to need to take more of an overall policy role and define how that can evolve versus doing the detailed evolution of it ourselves, which is really going to really change our mindset as we approach things. I think we're definitely in for a revolution in architectural thinking.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as you say, the principles, the core of the practice, I think are still valid and remain and should be what we stand on. But the way we practice has already, I believe, changed and needs to even more radically in the very near future. And that's just for us on nerds, architects, on our side of the fence. How are we ever going to get everyone else in the business to understand how this needs to change? That's, I think, part of the challenge that lies ahead.
Well, and that is a challenge. Love to hear everybody's thoughts below.
Yes, please chime in, because I mean, are we right? Are we wrong? Are we, veering just somewhat off path in this? Is this a movement? Is this kind of the zeitgeist that's out there? Are you feeling it? Are you seeing it? How are you addressing it? Love to hear, love to engage with, maybe even have people on the show are meeting this challenge and adapting to it in real time. That'd be fascinating.
Lots of changes and a lot of perspectives. So, let's get that dialogue happening. And these, like you're saying, these perspectives range from, 95% of, there's a recent paper, 95% of AI projects show no value, to a lot of activity and a lot of people, a lot of stuff happening that it's driving our economy. So where's the right answer here? Where's the right fit? Yeah.
I mean, AI is just the more recent, and so more fail. But, we're still back to the 60 plus up to 70% of all initiatives, stall or don't deliver what they were expected, that sort of thing. I really think that enterprise architecture in general, it has to become more of a nervous system. It's not a blueprint. It's not documentation. It's instant feedback and reaction and adjustment. Quarterly reviews aren't gonna cut it. but I mean, they haven't for a while.
I don't even know how you do a 5-year plan anymore. Like to me, that is just unthinkable that you could even envision what the world will be like in 5 years.
Yeah. No good. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that your call, both in your presentation and your upcoming book for real architecture and transformation, AI agents in orbit. I mean, the message is the same. Architecture has to keep up with an accelerated pace. It's data center floors to low Earth orbit. You can't know where it will be in 5 years. So please, by all means, join the conversation in the CAF community. Let us know what your architecture looks like, how you're practicing, and what you're planning to do when compute starts leaving the Earth.
Holy, we have really made some progress. Thanks, Kevin. Cheers, everyone.
All right. See you, everyone.
Bye.
Leave your comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.